Imagine stepping back in time, exactly 100 years. The year is 1924. The world is a vastly different place, and nowhere is this more true than in China. Forget the gleaming skyscrapers and bustling megacities you know today. We're about to journey into a nation at a crossroads. A land of ancient traditions, grappling with the immense, chaotic forces of modernity. This was the Republic of China, a young and fragile entity born from the ashes of the Qing dynasty, which had collapsed just over a decade earlier in 1912. But calling it a unified republic was optimistic. In reality, China was a fractured mosaic of territories controlled by powerful, competing military leaders, known as warlords. The central government in Beijing was weak, its authority barely extending beyond the city walls. This era, fittingly called the warlord era, was defined by constant conflict, shifting alliances, and immense suffering for the common people. Life, for the average person, was a daily struggle for survival. The vast majority of China's 400 million people were rural peasants, their lives dictated by the seasons and the whims of their local landlord or warlord. Famine was a constant threat, and life expectancy was tragically low, hovering around 30 to 35 years. In the cities, a different kind of change was brewing. Shanghai, the Paris of the East, was a dazzling, dizzying blend of East and West. Here, international concessions created pockets of foreign control, with Art Deco buildings rising alongside traditional temples. It was a city of immense wealth and desperate poverty, of gangsters, revolutionaries, and foreign adventurers. Intellectually, China was on fire. The May 4th movement of 1919 had unleashed a torrent of new ideas. Students and intellectuals were questioning everything, from Confucian values that had dominated Chinese thought for millennia, to the very structure of the Chinese language. They called for Mr. Science and Mr. Democracy to save the nation. New literary movements flourished, and debates raged in newspapers and tea houses about the future of the country. This period, known as the New Culture movement, was a genuine intellectual revolution. Politically, the scene was just as dynamic. In the south, based in Guangzhou, was Sun Yat-sen, the revered father of the Republic. He was tirelessly working to build a revolutionary base to reunify the country under his party, the Kuomintang, or KMT. But he needed help. He turned to the Soviet Union, which provided advisors, funding, and weapons. This alliance also brought the fledgling Chinese Communist Party, founded just a few years earlier in 1921, into a first united front with the KMT figures, who would later become world famous. Like a young Chiang Kai-shek, was the commandant of the newly established Whampoa Military Academy, and a charismatic organizer named Mao Zedong was just beginning to make his mark within the movement. In 1924, no one could have predicted the seismic clash that would later erupt between these two parties and define China's destiny for the rest of the century. Meanwhile, foreign powers were deeply entrenched in China. Through a series of unequal treaties signed in the 19th century, countries like Britain, France, Japan, and the United States controlled key ports, ran their own legal systems on Chinese soil, and dominated the country's trade. This was a source of profound national humiliation and fueled a growing wave of anti-imperialist sentiment. Japan, in particular, had its own ambitions for the mainland, a looming threat that would explode into full-scale war just over a decade later. Let's talk about the technology and infrastructure of the time. Railroads were the arteries of modern China, but they were few and far between, often controlled by foreign powers or warlords. Most people traveled by foot, by cart, or on crowded riverboats. In the cities, rickshaws were a common sight, and the first automobiles were beginning to appear, sharing the unpaved streets with traditional sedan chairs. There was no national power grid, no widespread telecommunication. News traveled slowly, and the gap between the modernizing coastal cities and the timeless, unchanging countryside was immense. Culturally, it was a time of fascinating fusion and conflict. In fashion, Some urban women were cutting their hair short into modern bobs and adopting the figure-hugging cheongsam or kipa, which was evolving into the iconic dress we recognize today. At the same time, many in the countryside still wore traditional, loose-fitting garments, and the painful practice of foot binding, though officially banned, was still prevalent in many areas. The first Chinese films were being produced, offering a new form of mass entertainment, while traditional opera and storytelling continued to thrive. So, what was the feeling on the ground in 1924? It was a mixture of desperation and hope. Desperation born from poverty, instability, and foreign domination. But also a powerful, electrifying hope that a new, strong, and independent China could be built. Revolutionaries plotted, intellectuals debated, and ordinary people endured. All part of a grand, chaotic, and often violent process of national reinvention. The China of 1924 was a world away from the global superpower of today. It was a nation struggling to find its footing, torn between its ancient past and an uncertain future. The events and ideas that took root during this pivotal decade, the rise of the KMT and the Communist Party, the intellectual ferment, the anti-imperialist anger would set the stage for the dramatic revolutions, wars, and transformations that were to come. Understanding this tumultuous period is essential to understanding the China we see today. It's a powerful reminder that history is never static, and the world can change in ways that are almost unimaginable within a single lifetime. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this glimpse into the past fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical deep dive. See you in the next video.